guys. So, welcome to the Walking Dead Last Mile panel. I am Yvette Nicole Brown. Down at the end is my fearless co-moderator, Felicia Day.
Hey! I get my mask off.
Hey, we are overjoyed to be your co-moderators today for a panel to celebrate the massively interactive live event, which spells out Mile, that we're both so overjoyed to be a part of. I'm talking about, of course, the Walking Dead Last Mile. Which is the next big chapter in the Walking Dead saga, one that puts you all in charge. How exciting is that? Yeah, now along the way, Felicia and I will be hosting regular interactive live streams that will reveal new cinematic scenes and discuss the impact that your choices have on the story. Tell them more, Felicia.
Well, I do want to introduce the panelists, other than myself. I mean, I'm great, but I would love to go down the line, and each panelist can kind of tell their name and then tell everybody exactly what they do. Starting with Matt.
Hi, everyone. My name is Matthew Ball. I run an entertainment company that produces and adapts much of the best intellectual property in the world. I'm very kindly getting my newest book, The Metaverse, and how it will revolutionize everything.
What book is that?
Where can people get it? What's the title?
Is this it?
You can find it most anywhere. But I'm here to talk about The Walking Dead, The Last Mile.
Which is also in the book.
It is in the book. We're going to experience and talk about today what will be the single most populated virtual world in history.
Woo!
And it's coming to one of the biggest franchises in history, and one that I'm personally, like everyone else on this panel and in the audience, deeply, deeply excited about.
Very exciting. Jacob?
I'm not Matthew Ball. My name is Jacob Navok. I'm the CEO at Genvid, and we're the company that's producing all the live streams and interactivity.
As it happens, I'm not Matthew Ball either. My name is Jessica Woodard. I was a senior writer on this project, and I'm the producer at Terrible Posture Games.
Whoop!
Yay.
It turns out I'm also not Matthew Ball.
Go figure.
I'm Mike Rogers, creative executive at Skybound Entertainment. I am kind of the keeper of the lore for The Walking Dead and a bunch of other Skybound projects.
Very exciting. Now today, everybody's going to learn everything they want to know about this game. It's very, very exciting, and we're going to be giving away stuff, and we're going to tell you a lot about the technology, the story. It's all very cool. But first, to kick it off, let's watch our first trailer, okay?
So exciting.
Yay!
Open the gates! Someone, get the dog! I've got a wounded man!
Yeah, I may be biased, but I want to play that.
Yeah, no, that guy, you'll see the person who survived is Abe the Babe, one of the lead characters in the game. There's all these wonderful characters. I can't wait to get into it. But first, let's talk a little bit about the gameplay. That's what I am most interested in. Let's talk to Genvid about it. Can you two tell the audience what exactly is a mile? Because I'm sure a lot of people are unfamiliar with this new term.
So a mile is a mix of kind of storytelling and massive interactivity, which is to say you are all part of the story, you all have the ability to influence it together. As opposed to a traditional game where it's kind of your story and your loop, there is only one decision that gets made for everyone. And the decision that gets made becomes canon. And this is incredibly important because there is no reset button. What you guys decide changes our product every single day. So when you make a decision, you may not be realizing that you're making a life or death decision for a character, and that happened twice so far.
Yes, it did.
In the last week and a half.
You're killing me, guys.
Yeah, I can't believe everybody voted to murder that one guy. You know, ruthless people. I don't know, lots of murder. As you can see, murder of walkers, murder of people. It's a lot of murder. It's a murder game, all right? But in a good way. Sorry, Jacob.
No worries. It's what we wanted. For the first time, who survives in the world of The Walking Dead is literally in your hands, and we designed it to really be friendly and kind of easy to participate in from a mobile perspective. And we'll talk more about the different types of activities and decisions that you can make later. But the core part of a mile is that you participate in it together. You are one community. Say hi in the chat. Make decisions every day. Help your survivor and help your faction, because you have to join either the village or the plant. And you'll see that these decisions, the small ones you're making right now, as we move toward Act 1, Act 2, and eventually Act 3 of the storyline, are going to have explosive outcomes.
Yeah, it's kind of like a choose-your-own-adventure in the ultimate blood sport way. Blood sport, but then it has a lot of gaming elements with it where you get to how you influence the story. It's very fun. So can you tell me what you're most excited for in working with Skybound and the Walking Dead franchise? I mean, it's just incredible to be able to work in this world, huh?
This is a world I've loved for many, many years. It is a world where the idea that you are surviving and living in it is a very kind of scary fantasy, but it's one that I think that everybody has been interested and excited in since the first comic came out, since the TV show came out, and since the Telltale games came out. And what I love about it is it's a world that you can spend different types of time in, which is to say, whether we're in the experience of the Telltale series, whether we're in the experience of the comic books, or whether we're in the experience of the television show, the characters, the storylines are real, and they change, and you feel different forms of emotion as people survive in it. I think that there is no other franchise on Earth that has that level of depth and can really drive to make you cry while also being about zombies, walkers in this case.
Absolutely. And, you know, it is interesting how it's almost... You know, I said choose your own adventure, but again, it's kind of like an MMO too, because you're collaboratively working with everybody. And like I said, every week you're kind of deciding a storyline branch with other people. And turns out people like to murder people. You guys. Very disappointed in you.
A lot of murder. Don't.
I know. Stop it. Be nice. They are battling zombies. I mean, walkers. But please don't just kill poor Jamie. I
know.
shed a tear for that poor guy.
I'm still hurt by that.
You know, the travel section right now is very light activity. Most of the time you survive it, but we're turning it into a gauntlet pretty soon.
Are you kidding?
Oh yeah, we're pumping up the death on that. When you debut in travel, when you choose to cameo your character inside of that show, odds of your survival are about to go way down.
Are you kidding?
You guys.
That's so cool.
The prologue was meant to be a walk in the park. Right? You look at the survivor assignments that you come into every day, like your chance of death is pretty low right now. That's not going to be that way in August, especially when winter comes.
Yeah, and it's really cool that you get to create your own character and you can actually have the chance to be in some of the cinematics, which is also a really interesting thing that I saw you guys put in.
So. Oh yeah, you're part of the show. You're part of the canon in this mile, and this is incredibly important. For the first time, the decisions that you make and the characters that you create are going to appear in scenes that are part of this story. And again, it's not your story.
Yeah.
It's everyone's story. And we're also working on an in memorial section of the UI, so all of your survivors who are killed, you'll be able to see the past and reflect on them, because they may have only been alive for a day.
Oh, so much murder. Can you talk a little bit about your partnering with Facebook on this project? How is that different?
Absolutely. So Facebook's been providing a lot of the technology as the live streaming, the instant game functionality that we're using to create this experience. What's amazing about the platform, they've got 2 billion users. And so there is
people.
no better scale than Facebook's scale when it comes to creating experiences. They also have their application on every platform that you can imagine. So it works on Android, it works on iPhone, it works on desktop. During the beta phase, we've had a lot of issues with people being able to log in, but we're working with Facebook to fix that so you guys can get into the game the moment and place in which you want to. And that's actually the point we've been doing the beta. So we've been working with the teams at Facebook to make improvements every single day and get these things up and get all the number of users who are clamoring to get inside of the game.
Amazing. Yvette, do you want to talk to Mike over there? Because he
I
has a
do.
lot in his
Did
head.
you see my face? I was like, I really want to talk to Mike.
We could
Talk
chat.
to
Let's
Mike.
chat.
Mike, let's chat. Okay, so it wouldn't be a Walking Dead panel without hearing from Skybound.
Hello.
Hey, so next we're gonna hear from Mike Rogers, who's a creative. I can talk. He's creative executive and the Walking Dead brand expert at Skybound. I think he deserves some applause for that. He's the brand expert. So Mike, can you explain your role at Skybound?
Yeah, so I do a lot of different things at Skybound, but I'm a creative executive. I oversee kind of all of our projects for The Walking Dead. Anything that's based on a comic that we turn into an interactive thing or a game, that'll run through me and Sean Kittleson and Tori Haynes. I kind of act less as like a brand person and more like just like a keeper of the lore.
Yes.
So like I just
Keeper
know
of
like
lore.
weird things about the world and like
Yes.
you know, rules of what can and can't happen with walkers and why they're walkers, not zombies, and things like that.
I
So,
know.
I mean, I'm
Yeah,
kind of
wasn't gonna call you out, Felicia.
I'm kind of a keeper of the lore when it comes to The Walking Dead as well.
That yeah.
I mean, I
coming
put
for
the
my
time
job,
in.
Yvette, or-
Yeah, I put the time in. Okay, so what are the important elements of The Walking Dead that you wanted to be a part of The Last Mile?
Yeah, well, obviously it wouldn't be The Walking Dead without the walkers.
Come on.
But what I think is really cool about the walkers in Last Mile is that, you know, we've seen a little bit of like wintry walkers before, but never to this degree and never in the way they are in Alaska. Like, there's this issue early in the comics when Rick and like his group are in like the Wilshire Estates,
Yeah.
and you get a little glimpse of like what frozen walkers are like and how they sort of like thaw a little bit, but like you saw in the trailer just there that like it's just to a different degree here,
Right.
and like making sure that the walkers and like the way that they sort of like become dormant and then like thaw out, and the way they move, the way like translating their walk and their like sort of like, you know, mindless shamble, but also what that means when they're like covered in ice and can't really move their joints anymore and things like that. That's all super important. And then, you know, maybe even more important is the survivors and sort of the authenticity of the survival, especially in Alaska, where, you know, it's a setting I think that we've never seen before in The Walking
Yeah.
Dead, and making sure that these survivors act in a way that feels authentic and feels real.
Yeah.
You know, they're not going to be able to just like grow food. Like
Right.
it's going to be really hard because it's cold.
Because
and
it's
frozen.
Alaska. That's
Yeah.
right. So where does Alaska fit into the Walking Dead universe?
Yeah. So, you know, I think one thing that's really important to Skybound, has always been important to Robert too, you know, as he told these stories, was, you know, we never want The Walking Dead to just be about Rick Grimes and Michonne, right? So especially in the games, taking the story to different settings, like what we did with Walking Dead Saints and Sinners in New Orleans, and, you know, what we're doing now with Last Mile. You were asking about Alaska, right?
Yeah, I'm asking about Alaska. Where it fits in there?
So it's sort of like the narrative themes and the elements and the storytelling is what really connects this whole world, right? So, you know, we're not going to see Rick Grimes ride up on a horse, the Mandalorian style, to go save the day for a minute in Alaska. It's it's more just about making sure those themes of survival sort of like fit in, and that we're telling this story that all sort of takes place in a whole world rather than like one just continuing narrative. It's all different characters that all fit into this sort of like realistic world.
Yeah. Now you were also one of the voice directors for the
was.
game. So how did that process work?
Yes.
And why didn't I get a call?
I think you just didn't pick up.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I don't.
Sometimes I don't pick up, guys. If it's an unknown number, I don't pick up. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Haley Francham and I were voice directors on the game. I directed Abe's performances, which was super fun, yeah.
Everyone's boyfriend.
You know, it's funny because voice directing is, voiceover work all used to be like you go into the studio, you're on the other side of the glass, but now a lot of it's virtual. And so for Jacob's sessions, who plays Abe, we did them all over the phone. And
Really?
yeah, and he was in Alaska and I was in North Hollywood. And we directed these whole sessions on the phone and just sort of like, working with the engineer being like, I can't see your face, so I can't tell if you got that or not. You got it, right? And then was like, yeah, we got it. Super fun.
Not even over Zoom?
It's funny. We didn't do it over Zoom. We've done some sessions over Zoom and some sessions over the phone.
Okay.
This is the second or third time I've directed over the phone now. So,
Okay.
yeah, it's unexpected,
Well, listen,
but it's really
sounds
fun.
wonderful, so no complaints
Yeah, I
here.
think everyone's really happy with how it turned out. I am, anyway. So.
I loved it.
But I'm biased.
Felicia?
Mike, why didn't you call me for the voiceover? I just want to know.
I think there's like one digit off on the phone number.
But last live stream I did do some of the voiceover, and I talk like this. And I don't know why people thought that wasn't particularly good for me.
we can talk after.
Okay, we'll talk later. Just some notes. Okay, great.
Not gonna talk.
We have some mad talent. This is a massive world, and we have some massive talent on this panel. So I don't want to neglect our next panelist, Jessica Woodard. She is the senior writer and producer at Terrible Posture Games. But oh yes, let's give her a round of applause
She gets it.
Well, thanks, y'all.
for her hair, for everything she does, for her
Yes.
talent. But before we talk to you, sorry, we're going to see the latest cinematic, which is going to be very
I'm so
exciting.
excited.
Prosper Landing isn't what it used to be. We pride ourselves on our ability to thrive up here, but even we have limits. I've lost count of how many have died since the walkers rose. It's not just walkers. Cold, hunger, despair. Still, we get by. Everyone looks to me. But I don't know how we're gonna survive another winter like this.
There are never many jobs here. Fishing, tourism. Glacier Point is what kept this place busy. We shipped out 250,000 barrels a day of stabilized crude. Back when the dead stayed dead. There's propane in the soil. That's power for us. Heat, buried in the injection field. Hope, trapped in the crude. We just need to get at it.
Tara says our lives depend on restarting the plant. I'm less certain. Our ancestors lived here for thousands of years without that plant. Couldn't we?
Abe keeps waiting to be saved. I say it's up to us to save ourselves. Some days it feels like we've got nothing ahead but bad choices. If we're lucky, we'll get to live with the consequences.
Sometimes it feels like there's nothing but bad choices. Why? I mean,
I think you
I
would have
don't
been
know
brilliant.
why they didn't call you. I don't
understand this. Anyway, Jessica, not Mike, can you explain what role Terrible Posture Games had in making the last mile?
Sure. So Terrible Posture ran the writer's room for The Last Mile. So we developed the story under, the direction of Mike and Sean. And then we also, in addition to writing, because narrative was so integral to the Mile experience and to all Mile experiences, we spent a lot of time collabing with other teams to talk about how it was going to be integrated in sort of this brand new format and, putting everything together.
It's amazing. And can you just set up the story for people who haven't played yet? Because again, we are in beta still. In August, they're going to go out of beta for 18 weeks, I believe. It's a lot of content that you've made. Can you just set it up for the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's similar to all Walking Dead stories in the sense that it's about how people handle living after the apocalypse. Seeing your world collapse around you, and then what individuals do, how they respond to that, and then also how communities respond to that and either rise to the occasion or potentially don't rise to the occasion, depending
Or rise
on how,
from the dead to the occasion.
or rise from the dead to the
done,
occasion.
nicely done.
Which might or might not happen to some of you. I couldn't possibly say. So
Some of us?
In
Well,
the
you're
game,
playing,
Felicia.
aren't
In the
you?
game.
When I'm playing. Okay, I was worried.
Jessica's threatening.
I was frightened for a minute.
I
You're
have
very
a
good.
vial of Walker toxic. No. So the thing that makes Last Mile unique is obviously the format, because it. I got to tell you, it kills me because it's taken the decision of what happens to these characters, our babies, you know, that we love and nurture and created whole lives for, and it's taken it away from us and it's given it to you. And I'm just begging you all to please be nice to them.
Like murdering Jamie last week, was that?
Y'all, I can't. I really thought Jamie was gonna make it, and it's. oof.
He was an identical twin. It's fine.
It's hard.
There's
What do you say?
another.
Harper's
There's
exactly
another
the
one
same?
of them.
Hurts me. But the other thing that makes Last Mile unique, and Mike already touched on this, is the fact that it's set in Alaska. And as we've come to find through our research and also through one of our embedded writers who is an Alaska native, Alaska is sort of one of the places on the planet where survival isn't as critical an issue as long as you know how to do it, right? Alaska is sort of a very open place. The people there still do a lot of hunting. They do a lot of fishing. They understand about harvesting things in season. So there's a lot of like, you're in Alaska, what are these new threats with walkers coming in? And then how do you integrate that to a very real world of people who already know how to survive stepping outside of modern conveniences? And so that's really interesting and unique to Last Mile because it's not the same when like a story is set in a major city because like in major cities there's supply chains to worry about, and that's not as much of a deal in Alaska, and that's part of how you guys are integrated in. Like we do a lot of resource gathering.
Yeah. I mean, I love chopping wood and fishing, and you've got that for me. You hooked me. I will fish in any video game you give me. Any video game.
She really
okay?
loves fishing and video games.
I talk about it a lot.
She does.
We do have 2 exclusive pieces of art you can show.
Okay.
Jessica, could you tell us a little context about this exclusive San Diego reveal?
Exclusive.
Reveal.
Thank you, one guy, for applauding. Ooh.
Gorgeous.
It's okay. You don't have to applaud. It's fine. I mean, you should have, but it's
I
okay.
kind of like the applause.
Too late now. The moment's
I
passed.
encourage it.
Okay,
I like
moving on.
So what we have here are our 2 factions. And the factions are split by the Bay, physically, but they're also very much split by the mentality of the leadership. The plant is led in a very top-down style, right? Tara is the head of the plant. She makes the decisions, she organizes, she settles disputes, she does all of that, and she is sort of the linchpin on which everything hinges. The village has more of a leadership committee. It has, Abe is obviously the village chief, but he has sort of a circle of advisors that advise him. He cares very much about what the people in the village in general want to do. He doesn't make unilateral decisions. And the difference between these 2 people sort of becomes core to the difference between what the village is versus what the plant is. The village is the place where you have the more comfortable home. It's where the food is. It's where the sole surviving medical professional resides. Whereas the plant has this potential promise of a resource that does make life in any cold place so much easier, because when you have access to fuel, in this case propane, you have access to all kinds of things. You have access to electricity and heat that doesn't come from chopping wood. And so the plant is working on this promised future, which involves relying on more modern resources, whereas the village is trying to rely on more traditional, sustainable methods of survival and sort of step away from hoping for the propane.
Jessica, the Last Mile unfolds over 4 months. Can you give us an overview what we can expect for those coming months after the beta?
So the beta, where we're taking it easy on you
Yes.
and only killing.
Yeah, Jacob told us we gonna die.
That's right.
A lot of us gonna die, y'all.
I mean, I'd say not to worry about it, but I would be lying, and I try not to do that.
He said you guys were making a graveyard for our character. Like, how would we not
It's
just
a
die?
memorial graveyard.
friendly
There's
graveyard.
nice aspects to that, right?
It's a graveyard.
Go on.
Wait, you asked about the month.
Yeah, how's
right.
it gonna unfold
Okay,
for
sorry,
these
I got
4
distracted
months?
by the memorial graveyard.
Yes.
Okay, so the timeline is we've got these 4 months of the beta. We're running this prologue, which sort of sets up the situation going into winter.
Dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. And then we're going to have a brief break, and then we're going to start in on Act 1. And there is an escalating level of tension. There's an escalating level of desperation about survival. I'm not going to give you guys any spoilers, but it's a Walking Dead game, so you can probably already figure that part out. And the 4-month
Mile.
well, I was gonna say experience, but I appreciate that. Mile is good. Let's throw the word out. Culminates in sort of the third act, which is, I'm gonna go ahead and call it action-packed. Yeah.
A promise.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and call it action-packed.
I love it. So, can you explain how our choices affect the story, and what are some challenges in writing such a big, expansive, fluid story?
So, the
Sweat pours down her face.
So the challenge, the major challenge is that as storytellers, we want this story to be satisfying no matter which direction it goes. And Jacob's been really clear about this, and it is true. You guys have control over lots of stuff. And in order to make sure that it's satisfying no matter what happens, you play this massive game of what if. And as a writer, you're like, okay, well, if they choose this, then how does this work into a character's arc? And if they choose the other, how does it work into the character's arc? And what does this mean for who these people are and like how their emotional resolutions come about when they can do very different things in the story? And so narratively, that's a really big challenge. And then technically, it's also just such a sprawling narrative. I mean, it's 4 months long, and it's being told in bite-sized chunks because you come back every day for a new bite. And breaking it up in these small, easily digestible pieces, but then having it be something that spans such a large period of time becomes a real technical challenge.
Now, we were told that authenticity and inclusion were very important themes in writing The Last Mile. Can you explain some of the ways you incorporated those themes?
Absolutely. So our slide here is of our 3 main Alaska Native characters, and they all have distinct tribes. We've been careful when referencing native tongue that we were making sure that we were doing that. And the way we worked with this is we have an embedded writer who is integral to this process, who is an Alaska Native. And then we also had another consultant that worked on it with us. And one of the realities is that people in the lower 48 are never gonna fully get what life is like in Alaska. We don't even know what we don't know, right? Because it's not a part of our worldview. So having Ishmael Angela-Cope is his name, having Ishmael on our team was really, really critical to that. He sort of gave us pointers. He was like, this is something you're completely wrong about. You need to go do this research. And then we'd go and we'd do the research and we'd come back. In a way, it's very similar to how we did research for like the oil plant. The oil stabilization plant, we had to know how that ran in order to write a story about it. And so it was like that. We also had a subsistence consultant who lives a very subsistence lifestyle and like actually goes out and hunts in Alaska. She talked to us about seasonality. She talked to us about various hunting methodologies. And she also was kind enough to talk to us a little bit about sort of her culture so that we could bounce ideas off of her as well as Ishmael so that we got more than just a single voice coming in there. We also did a lot of reading. Beyond that, we do have other characters in the story. We wanted to try and make it sort of a broad scope. Doc, obviously, has a missing limb. And so we spoke with some disability consultants to make sure that we understood what that would be like. Those were amazing conversations. I think, by the way, if you ever have a chance to have a conversation with a disability consultant, it's super cool. So Doc is disabled, and in a world like The Walking Dead, that's gonna happen a lot, right? Walker bites, you get amputations, it's critical. And so making sure that we understood that aspect of it was there. We have a lesbian couple that's part of our story. We wanted to make sure, like, we have a small cast, we can't include every single person in the world, but we wanted to do our best to make sure that we were representing people.
Yeah.
We don't want it to be like one face or one demographic. We want it to be everyone has an experience on like how they would handle the apocalypse, and like you want to show the world representation out there. So that was important to us, and we did our best to make sure that we were talking to the right people and asking the right questions to make sure that we weren't writing in a vacuum or from a single perspective, that we had a lot of voices leading us in that.
I love it.
Amazing. Yeah, so we're going to show you some gameplay. And here to walk us through that is Jacob, who's the CEO of Genvid. And Jacob, you were an integral part of designing. You really had a lot of hands-on in designing the game, right?
Yeah, so the idea is to, one, make it simple for the Facebook audience to participate on phones, because 98% of the audience is on their phone. And you start by logging in, catching up on the latest videos. And there's a lot of videos. Like, we're just live for a week and a half at this point in time, and there's already probably about 2 to 3 hours worth of stuff to just watch if you want to.
Yes.
Catch up on all the scenes, catch up on the live streams, catch up on the animated graphic novels. But you begin by creating a survivor, and every day your survivor has different assignments that they have to go on, and this was meant to be like those old school classic pen and paper RPGs. They may or may not survive. You're kind of rolling the dice. You can boost to help and make sure that they're going to survive. But sometimes they don't, and sometimes they get injured, and right now it's fairly simple. But they'll write you a journal when they begin on these missions. And in fact, there are many different missions that you can go on each day, and they all take time. So if you don't remember every day to log in a little bit and see each mission, you may not get it. Now, throughout the experience, there are different activities and mini games to do, and this was a very intentional decision. We looked at the types of games that people like to play on mobile phones and wanted to create experiences that didn't require skill. So here's the problem. The loop is that you generate influence points, and you can use those points to bid on decisions. Mm-hmm. If we made it so that only the people who were really good at shooting walkers were the people who generated influence points, the whole story would be dominated by whoever is best at the game, like in esport. And we didn't want to do that. And
that wouldn't be fair.
It wouldn't be fair. So we created experiences that were simple to tap on, simple to play, mini games, things like fishing that people could do and have fun within a few minutes of gameplay every single day, and then could then generate influence points that they could use to spend on decisions, and then see those decisions as a result in the storyline. Now, during the beta period, a lot of this stuff is still pretty early, but coming in Act 1, you're going to have an entire gallery where you can see all the fish you caught. There's
Yes.
over 50.
Yes, Jacob.
Felicia
yes.
likes to fish,
there's a
guys.
I'm going to have the
massive-
best fish
She likes to
collection. You're not going to
fish.
believe it, you
Massive
guys.
number of them.
Massive number of
There are a
fish
lot of
in my collection.
People will get wounded, and we're going to have like an operation-style mini game where you've got to help heal
A
them.
lot of people gonna die.
Yeah, indeed.
Murder and fish. That's last mile. Murder and
And
fish.
so we've just been creating a wide variety that does change every day. And in fact, every episode of the game and every episode lasts 24 hours has different mini games and different puzzles. They're not the same every day. And we'll be working on an archive so you can see all of the ones that you missed, so you can work on the point generation. But again, the idea was to do something very simple that could let you participate and feel part of the world, so that you could generate the points to make the bids. And the bids are super important because that decides who lives and who dies. And every day there are new bids.
And you can bid multiple times.
Yes,
So
correct.
you can game the system in a way that the more wood you chop, the more you can chop Jamie, guys like
Correct.
Jamie, you know.
You can. If you do
Felicia.
spend more than, we recommend about 15 minutes to see and read everything. But if you just spend more than 15 minutes, you'll be able to generate more points, which will allow for you to bid more. And there are multiple things to bid on. So there are multiple story decisions. You can see 3 that are active this day alone.
No, save the bears. I'm sorry, I saw something about bears.
And the decision that you make here, the next day, literally at midnight Pacific, every night the new episode starts. And if you go and you read the visual novels, they're the little mini comic books. And there are usually a minimum 3 a day. Those decisions that you made are right there. The outcome immediately at midnight reflects the decisions that you're making. This has never been done before. We have nearly 200,000 people registered for the game in the last week and a half, and they are all bidding toward decisions that become canon.
And I cannot believe people voted potatoes over radishes. Do you not know the nutritional value of a radish versus
No matter,
a potato?
potatoes are delicious.
It changes the story, and you will see them reference these things differently in the story. And in addition, there are cameos. Every day there is a cameo contest in there. And those cameos allow for the character that you've created to be part of the interactive comics, to be part of these interactive graphic novels, and to be part of the cutscenes, fully voiced with the rest of the characters.
It's very cool.
You know what,
I gotta keep track of all this lore.
And y'all, some of those scenes are really cool.
He's almost as excited about this as us dying. This is exciting.
Listen,
I've been on this my whole life.
Let me say this too, though, you guys. What is really great about it is you don't have to download this game. This game lives on Facebook, so whatever you're using, you can just go right, and the game is right there waiting for you, which is one of the great things. We all can participate, no matter how big the RAM or whatever it is on our phone is.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, that whole Mary Sue fantasy I've had for characters I've dreamt up of my entire life is actually happening.
Aww.
It's really sweet, Jacob. You know what? It really makes me excited to see the people behind what you're. I mean, your passion is clear.
Yes.
And that's what I love. And you're making something that's accessible to people who are not like going to put 8 hours a day into Fortnite.
Correct.
But at the same time, I love Fortnite. Hey, let's
You
talk.
love fishing and death.
She
I
does.
like fishing and death.
She really does.
Nicole, should we do some Q&A maybe?
I would love to. I feel like Matthew hasn't talked a lot up here.
No, I know. Matthew.
Matthew, you want to say something before we go to the
Miles
Q&A?
concept came from him, and so.
Well, jeez.
Or have you done
Well,
all of your talking?
I want to know who Matthew voted for to live or die. Was it Jamie or Harper?
Matthew.
Yeah, Matthew, tell
I'm
us.
not gonna. It is Jarper, but we're going to move beyond that. I want to talk about why I'm so excited for the audience in particular and the pioneers and the fans, and that is, for 9 years, The Walking Dead was the biggest show on basic cable.
Yes, it was.
For 5 years, it was the biggest show on all of cable.
Yes, it was.
And for 4 years, it was the biggest show on television.
Yes, it was.
Have you watched that?
I happen to watch a few episodes every now and then.
But if you fast forward a decade before The Walking Dead came out, what was the biggest show on TV for nearly a decade? Anyone want to yell it out? Guess?
Alf.
Community. Who said it?
That was a good.
It's
that was-
so
Deserved
not
it.
true, but I love you.
It deserved it.
We all love paintball.
No one's gotten it.
Was it
Seinfeld was in the
Friends?
90s. The answer is American Idol.
Oh. And what happens on American
the
Idol?
audience votes.
The audience votes, but you find out 24 hours later. And your ability to affect the outcomes is limited. You just choose who goes home.
Right.
That's great. It's fun. It's incredible. It built the biggest show almost worldwide for a decade. But you had to wait, and that sucked. You didn't know whether or not you had an impact. The winner, the loser, they had millions and thousands of votes. It didn't matter how much you loved that participant, you couldn't really affect the outcome. And so now we're talking about an experience that takes everything about that, mixes it with your passion, mixes it with the ability to work with other teams on Discord, on Facebook, in person, to try and steer one of the biggest franchises ever. Jacob was talking about Fortnite, a game that both he and I love. When you go to the Travis Scott concert, there's 27 million people there, but you're isolated with 49 others. You can't affect the story. In fact, it's unfolding irrespective of whether or not you're there. This is unprecedented, and it gives each of you an opportunity to direct proportional to the characters you love, proportional to the fish that you hunt or fish for, and perhaps how much you want someone to die, but we'll leave that aside.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
any question? Nobody has any
Let's get some questions
You guys,
going.
please
There he
line
is.
up at the
Get
mic.
in
Also,
here.
you're all getting
Q&A.
tickets, by the way, and those tickets are going to pay off after the Q&A. Okay.
Make sure you have one.
Parking ticket.
Yeah, if you
Let's
don't have
go.
one, raise your hand. We have amazing people who are here, workers at Comic-Con. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, volunteers and people who are running the panels. You guys.
It's
Keep
on
everyone
you,
safe.
sir. What do you got?
Okay. Well, firstly, thank you all for coming out to Comic-Con and Felicia and Yvette for moderating this. I just wanted to know the idea, it was touched upon in your first question, Yvette, but it's what immediately came to my mind was, how do you build a story where you're basically handing control to us and then make it something that, like, what do you do with that lack of control? How do you build that?
Well, first you feel very zen about the world, and you breathe in, and then, yes, thank you. And then what you do is you build strong characters, because when you know who your characters are, and the writer's room spent so many meetings just sitting around talking and arguing with one another, like, who is this person? What are their motivations? Then you can write 4 different scenes that go 4 different ways depending on what's happened previously, and you know what that character does in that moment. And you can take them down that path, and you know how to lead them there because you know who that person is. And I think, for me, I feel like this is a core of how The Walking Dead goes. It's all about human reactions to things, right?
Absolutely.
And so we build in these human reactions, and then any situation that comes along, we're like, this is what this human being would do in this moment, and we just follow that to its logical conclusion.
Love it.
Yeah, so.
I love that you really love that answer. I love that you liked it.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And I just want to add in one of the things that because I don't know, I enjoy human psychology. One of the things that I think is really cool is that it's not just the characters' reactions, but because you guys are part of the story by deciding what happens, in a way, it's about your reactions to the apocalypse. It's about your reactions to these terrible moments. When you have a hard decision to make, what choices do you, the players, make, knowing they have real consequences, and you can't reload your old save and see what goes the other way, or save your favorite character.
That's right.
Or if you're old school like me and did choose your own adventure, just flip back to the previous page.
Yeah, 'cause you didn't
There's
like
no
it.
flip back.
There's no flip back.
No back.
Gotta live with your choices.
Yeah. Exactly. You have to. You
Yeah.
hope you get to survive to deal with the
Right.
consequences.
Live or die with your choices.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, you're next.
Hi, my question is, are we going to be able to interact with familiar characters, or are they all going to be brand spanking new?
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying before, I think part of the magic for me of The Walking Dead is that we get to have these new characters and these new, we're not going to see Rick Grimes, we're not going to see Michonne, but we're going to get to learn these new characters, which, just like Jessica was just saying, they've really, your team of Terrible Postures really spent so much time learning who these characters are, and not just having them as archetypes, but really knowing exactly what they would do. And we're very lucky to have your team.
And also
Such a great
remember, you
job.
didn't know who Rick and Michonne were at first either.
That's right. That's right.
Just lady walking with 2 walkers with a katana. You didn't know who she was. You came to know and love her later. You
That's
just
right.
fall in
That's
love
right. So yeah, I mean,
quickly.
it's an opportunity to get to know a whole new cast of characters.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, but the walkers are there,
That's
right?
true.
Those are
That's true.
They're
those are
familiar.
They're
familiar
like the weather.
characters.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
It was very important to me as we were working on these first miles that the audience have true agency. And it becomes very hard to do that with characters that you already believe that you strongly know or have affinity toward, because many times their stories have already been told and their paths have already been walked. And so when we started this, one of the discussions with Skybound very intentionally was, can we set this in a new place, in a new time, and with new characters so that you, the audience, can actually have real, authentic agency over them. So it came from those at the very beginning of this project.
But the characters are canon in the Walking Dead
Correct.
comic
Absolutely.
universe. So if you guys don't kill them all off, there's potential to see some of these stories continue. And
Yeah, there's certainly breadcrumbs for, Walking Dead, like, super fans to follow and to see, and some things that might set up things in the future. But, I think something that's also really important to Skybound is the realism of the property, right? And it's just, like I said before, it's just not realistic for Rick to, like, I'm riding to Alaska today, getting on the horse, off to Alaska. Not gonna happen because it wouldn't make any sense. And that's, like, making it all make sense is where, like, it really just, like, works for me, because then you believe it, and I believe it.
Keeper of the Lord. Thank you very much. Next.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, honey.
Yvette.
Hi.
Hi, Felicia.
Hi.
Thank you for coming out. This is great. I've been playing this since it opened, and
Yay!
I'm having a
Yay,
great
day
time.
one.
Fishing is stupid hard.
I mean,
Sorry.
I got you.
As it is in real life.
Have you found the boot yet?
Have I found the what yet?
The boot.
Boot.
Not yet.
It's legendary. You'll see it in the gallery.
My question is, well, first off, we did not kill Jamie. You gave us an impossible choice.
Yeah.
Oh, girl, throw down the gauntlet. Okay.
Wow.
But my question is, are we going to be able to, are survivors going to be able to equip other weapons? Because I lust after Tara's sword.
Yes, we do have other weapon unlocks coming, and we've got other activities that are coming to use that. So we're building a much more robust system for that. Thank you.
I love that you're playing
Completely
and enjoying
intentional.
it. Oh, that makes me so happy.
Hello.
Hello.
I was wondering if you have ever considered putting all your great talent towards some good board games.
Oh, good one.
Because board gaming is awesome and it's
It is.
social, but the Walking Dead board games out there need some help.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Tell us how you really feel, girl. Let us know.
I've personally run some unofficial Walking Dead one-shot D&D campaigns, but that's it.
Do you do those over Zoom?
I can.
And can I get in?
We can talk about it, Jessica.
Is that a Michonne?
Oh, man.
Hi, honey.
Oh,
What's your
nice
question?
cosplay.
So, my question is, do we get the option to actually choose how we die like Carl did?
Oh.
They have 168 pants options, so just to let you know, they're looking after all of us.
That's a good question. Well, depending on the assignment that you go on, you may be able to choose a very, very, very high risk of death assignment in the future. So,
And they all.
potentially yes.
Yes.
Potentially yes.
Hey guys.
Hi.
So the use of a mile as a medium in telling the story is so new, but it's got so much opportunity. And it's not there yet, but I can imagine a world where it's monetized the outcome of the miles and the stories as it goes. So to that point, what mechanics or thoughts have you put into not getting botted?
Yeah, so Ball and I play Fortnite every night, and I find the Fortnite model really intriguing, like a battle pass model where it's not about play to win or something that... The challenge would be if you monetize it in the wrong way and you just allow people to dominate storylines by how much money they pay.
Right.
And it just sounds sucky. And so if you look at the way in which you can create survivors and get unlocks, what I'm thinking is a battle pass type system in the future where the more in which you progress and participate, the more in which you'll have avatar unlocks and wallpaper unlocks and emotes. And the thing that's really missing right now is a lot of the lean back Twitch-like chat where you can see other people and feel presence of those viewers. And that's where I think we're going to take a lot of the interactivity and the monetization options. But this product is completely free. There's nothing planned for it in terms of monetization.
Just to clarify, rather than from a studio perspective and you monetizing, I mean us monetizing by betting on the outcome.
Oh, like gambling.
Oh, yeah. And
Got it.
They're
Fascinating. Okay.
Because then
Had
we
not.
Can we get
control
rich
the
with
law,
this?
and we control the story. But obviously on Facebook, I could have 100,000 accounts and control who I actually kill off.
Lord Jesus.
Interesting.
Got dark? Didn't it get dark?
Had not thought about that.
Some
Very
exploitation
scary,
here.
frankly. We'll talk to the security team. We did have an issue. We did have an issue last weekend where people found an exploit in bidding. And so Friday night, I'm looking at the bids, and the bids had been a couple 100,000. We were seeing about 1 million points spent a day. And then we start seeing 10 million, and then 100 million. I contacted my team and I went, what's going on here? And we found that people had found a recursive bidding exploit where the refund system, because if you cameo, you get refunded if you don't win. They were exploiting that. And so a couple of people found out, and we were seeing them like bid 100 million, 200 million, 300 million. And it was absolutely bananas. So on Saturday evening last week, one of my guys didn't sleep. went and fixed that system, and then we had to wipe those bids, which is very sad.
Is there any way I can still do that, Jake?
No, I'm sorry. But I'm very grateful because one of them sent us a long note explaining how they did that, and like the whole purpose of the beta is to fix that. So that was a great question. Thank you for that.
Nothing
these are real problems
sexier
that
than a
happen.
white hat hacker, really.
Those are the real MVPs.
It really, yeah.
Yes, dear.
Hi, so I've never played the game before, so I'm really interested now. My question is because of my busy work schedule. Sometimes I don't get on the game for like a week. Does that mean I'm gonna go on the game and my character is dead?
Perhaps.
It's a good question.
I mean, the dead people are dying.
We did promise death. We promised.
The answer today is you have to actively put them into an assignment or into travel in order for them to die. So if you don't do that for a week, no. But going forward, if we just decide to randomly kill people if they don't log in, like Mr. Rossetti in Animal Crossing, maybe? Like, that's a really interesting retention mechanic, so thank you for that. Log back in or you're dead.
It's like the most ruthless Tom Nook ever.
Thanks.
Wow.
That's bad on an advertisement.
GDD being written tonight.
Wow.
There's your ad. Yes.
Okay, so you mentioned that you have to live with your like decisions, but by the end of those 4 months, are you able to maybe see alternative endings, like to see if Jamie didn't die?
So Jamie's dead.
We
so
dead.
No more Jamie.
Gone.
So we do have some ideas in place about how we are potentially gonna give you some clues about what the might have beens could have been.
Oh, that's nice.
But Jacob, do you want to speak a little bit more to that?
Well, funny thing, if you look at the tutorial and you look at the animation clip that starts there, there is a dead Harper walking toward Dylan. And so those alternate takes are actually created. And they are written. And sometimes if you log in and we've made a mistake, you will see, as happened 2 days ago, that the visual novel is displaying
Jacob's just trying to get you to live online and never log out.
The point is that we actually have written, we have prepared these things. We just, right now, we're not showing them, but if there is enough strong interest, that's a conversation we can have.
But Jamie dead canon.
Yeah, Jamie dead.
No, but you will see Harper as a walker running toward Dylan in that opening if you do the tutorial right now.
Seriously?
Yeah. And I told Sean this 2 days ago.
I mean, they're
Like, leave
twins.
it
How
in.
can you tell?
Leave it in.
See if somebody
you
has
notice
to
Easter egg.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, this may be a little bit off the wall, but there was a game that Felicia played guest host to a while back called 1 vs. 100 on Xbox.
Oh, yeah. 1 vs. 100. That was a great game.
And it kind of is in the same spirit as what you're doing at Genvid, where you have massive interactivity married with a broadcast element.
Yep.
So my question is, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I wish it was still around. But my question was, have you ever thought of maybe opening up different methods of acquiring influence points, maybe through a game show type?
Yes, I'm strongly interested in that. Yeah, exactly. I think it's the perfect fit for what we're doing. So, very short answer.
Do you have a host for that yet?
I think it would be amazing. Like, it would be a ton of fun.
Is there a timeline that you're thinking?
Not that I can disclose right now.
Yes. I'm very glad to hear that.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate
think that's Microsoft really squandered an opportunity there. I thought they were,
I agree.
were so far ahead.
No, but the opportunity to have massive interaction in that type of experience is just so strong. It's such a perfect fit. I'm with you.
This is such new technology that
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the technology that this game is awesome, but the technology under it really feels like it has the potential to become the standard of gaming in like 5 years, you know?
The idea that you as a community influence, change, and affect everything is where I think all of this goes. If you look at like everything is a stream. If you look at the promise that people were pitching about cloud gaming, like it was going to go bring the next 2 billion gamers, and it didn't really happen because all they did was like bring you Red Dead Redemption and like over a stream, and it was the same $60 package disc. But this is it. Like we have players, we have a huge player base.
How do you
today
really feel, Jacob?
in India, in Philippines, in Pakistan, they're playing all over. Right now. If you open up that chat, you'll see people talking in Swahili and you'll see people talking in Hindi.
Love it.
Right now. And so it's a very global base, and I think that's the biggest opportunity to bring these experiences everywhere to places that don't have consoles. But sorry, you have a question.
Let's get these last 2 questions in. We're running out of time. Yes.
Yes, no worries. I love the fact that you have to follow a lore. And I think that's what makes storytelling so interesting, is that every story has its different lore.
That's right.
I don't remember if Supernatural had any zombies in it, but to compare, for the lore, if you get bit in the game, do you play as a different character? Do you lose your character? What happens then?
Yeah, so I Jacob, what happens if Harry Cardboard, who is my character, if he dies?
Okay.
What do I do? What happens then?
So it's an interesting question. The system actually pulls from the user's characters to generate the walkers. And so if you see a walker that looks exactly like a dead character of yours, that's actually true. We're just not surfacing it because we didn't have a clear way to surface to all the users that, hey, that's actually the walkers. But it is true. If your character is bit and is dead inside of the thing and you see them in the immemorial, they are now part of the walker pool that gets randomly generated in the rail shoot.
Wow.
Yep. If you get bit in The Walking Dead, you're gonna die.
That's pretty cool. Very cool. Thank you.
Thank you, honey. Last question.
Love your shirt.
Oh, I've heard from a lot of developers when they release the game in the wild, sometimes gamers do things that they never even thought of. So I was wondering, like, how loose of a reign were you guys going to have if something like that occurs?
Yeah, that's a really good question. What the main things that we were trying to fix or trying to prevent people from gaming were the travel activity, where you can cameo and see your character there and people may or may not help you. And so we tried to restrict that, but we are seeing people abuse and change that, and so we're going to have to modify it. The biggest thing is that we have to protect is the bidding and the story decisions and the way in which people are driving others. Like I just described that we saw some people pseudo kind of manipulate it before. That's a bug we can fix, but somebody going on Reddit or Twitter or some influencer who's got like 1 million followers telling everybody to bid in one direction is the one thing that we really can't panic out of.
Don't do it.
And that is the kind of biggest concern that we've got, that story is going to be manipulated basically by some later outside of the game. But
the other thing about it is it's perfectly fine for you all to get together and have voting blocks. Like, go online, talk to your friends, get them to come vote with you if you care enough about a bid.
I'm just voting for whatever Yvette tells me to do.
That's right. I'm
hurt
very
the dogs.
vocal.
Don't hurt the dogs.
The other problem that we were concerned about as game developers were, what if the same person wins every cameo contest and you just see the same character winning there? And so my ask to everybody here is please go and bid on the cameo contest so I get a wide variety of people there.
Yeah, not just have some new guest star who's recurring.
Thank you.
Cardboard every week.
But that is definitely a loop that we were concerned about as developers, and we don't have a clear answer for that yet. So part of the beta is learning how user behavior works and then trying to fix for it.
Hey, Felicia. I think there's some information you want to tell everyone.
Yeah. On a personal note, I just want to thank all of you for having me be involved in this project. Yvette is a dream to work with. This is so fun to be on the cutting edge. This is my 12th, I believe, Comic-Con. And I see a lot of fans in the room. I don't have a lot of panels here. This was my one thing, and I see Eve. Literally my Facebook, stand up right now. In my Facebook feed, a picture of us 10 years ago popped up. So I just want to thank everybody who, followed my career. I'm making this about me now, but I teared up seeing some familiar faces in the row. Okay, so now I'm going to give away some free stuff. Do it. Which is exciting. Everybody who got a ticket, all right, first of all, we're going to give away some codes first. So if you guys go to the game and put in TWDLMSDCC, it's long, but then you think The Walking Dead Last Mile San Diego Comic-Con. Okay, it's called an acronym. You get 10,000 influence points, which is enough to kill off a Jamie.
Y'all better know.
Right?
Or to keep a Jamie alive.
Or
Come
win
on.
the cameo contest.
Or win the cameo contest. Absolutely. And then, did you get one of those tickets? Everybody get a ticket. That is going to give you a free The Walking Dead T-shirt. Yes.
Yay.
So everybody
love
gets
free stuff.
Is it the one I'm wearing in that picture?
I don't know. It looks pretty good.
Maybe.
The size, first come, first serve. And if you tag The Walking Dead and The Walking Dead Last Mile on Instagram wearing that shirt, you might actually get more stuff sent to you from Skybound. So I would recommend doing that. Anyway.
Word card works.
Listen, that was wonderful. Listen, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. And please remember, you can join the Last Mile gameplay right now on Facebook Gaming. It's there for you 24/7 during the event. And remember to join our interactive live stream every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific time on Facebook, and play with Felicia every Friday. Is at 1 o'clock?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so you get the best of both worlds every week. So join the mile, and then also come and watch us do our interactive streams, okay? Thank you so much for being here today. Get your t-shirts.
Thank you.
Go to
Thank you,
Facebook
panelists.
Gaming.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.